Whoa, it's Wulzy. Welcome back to Geometry Dash. Now, 4 days ago, I uploaded a featured page tier list. You guys seem to like it, so here's the next spin. We are going to be going into the Magic tab, going through the first page of Magic levels, and placing them onto the tier list that is made in Paint.net. And without further ado, let's get into level 1, Work It by Saturnite using Temanite Work. Alright, let's see what we got here. Okay, this is a pretty basic design level so far. Very static, but you've got that glow sweeping up from the bottom, very nice. There isn't really much decoration or structuring to fill up some of the space, but it's got an idea of how to build tension, although it does feel a little bit grounded, and there is a lack of decoration here and there. It isn't actually that bad. The gameplay is pretty good so far. The designs have been very repetitive so far alongside the colour scheme. I don't know why I just died. Decent use of custom borders too, filling up a little bit of empty space here and there that could be awkward to fill. Not much to it, to be honest. It's got good gameplay and it's got a very out of place boss fight that is pretty much ripped from Just Shapes and Beats. But honestly, it is quite cohesive despite its repetitivity in the colour scheme, designs, decoration, ground spikes, all of it. It's alright. I'm going to have to grade some of these levels a little bit different to what was on the featured page, because obviously the standard was a lot higher there. I'm expecting the standard here to be a little bit lower, so I'm going to say this is a D for Magic page. Although it has a long way to go to get to that rating standard, I don't think it's going to be the lowest level on this list. So I think D tier is a solid place because there is a lot of room for better levels and there's also a little bit room for the lower levels. I did actually really enjoy this level, so nice job Saturnite with your level, Work It. Gen P by Polar Kai GD with a banned song. These colours are very strange, but they're original. At first I didn't really like it, but now that I'm looking at it, it doesn't actually look that bad. There could be a few tweaks here and there to make the outlines a little brighter, to suit that saturation in the background. If you've watched me before, you'll know that I'm not a fan of saw blade spam like this to fill in the space. There could definitely be some structures at the top and bottom to save it looking so clustered. The colour scheme has really went downhill right here. There's a lot of details that overlap each other and don't look very nice because of the colours and the saturation used. And these colours are absolutely insane. It's very difficult to distinguish what's actually going on because there's so many pulses on such a short pulse time. The style seems to be a little bit more uplifting right here. The gameplay was actually pretty cool there. You've got a lot more glow usage, although it doesn't really use blending and it kind of looks awkward next to itself. Again, using saws to fill up the space, leaving big flat ground spikes at the bottom where nothing's built up from it. Fell out the world too. Not really a fan of this so far. Keeps on swapping from style to style. There's a lack of structures. There's lots of empty space on the foreground. Although it has attempted to do things with the background. And I feel like there could be a little bit more color depth instead of the saturation being the same in pretty much every element. Oh, I can't even get past this transition. It's not working. There's a lack of darkness on the screen right now. It's all very bright and it's very overbearing at times. Especially when the colors clash so strongly with this yellow and red with just random white on the edges of the blocks. Again, more saw blade spam. There could at least be some more detail within. Here's one of the better parts in the level. I like how the structures go. You've got a nice variation of pillars and big blocks. You've also got some saws too. You've got a good balance of different objects, different structure types. It just lacks a direction. It just feels very random. It is an XL level. I appreciate the effort in this, but I think it's got a very long way to go in every aspect. The gameplay isn't the best, the colours aren't the best. It could just do with a lot more polishing to make it a lot more clean and bearable to look at with a mix of bright and dark instead of just completely bright colours with lots of fast pulses with little timings on them. It's getting an E. It's not getting an F because it did have some creative ideas with some block designs and backgrounds at certain times. It's not awful. It just has a long way to go to get to the rating standard. Now, I think this is an ultra low detail mode of the last game by Suprian GD. I just don't particularly feel like playing an ultra low detail mode of a level that I could just go into regularly. Alright, I see the atmosphere in this. You've got some overlays right there with those circles that pulsed in with the music. You've got a mix of light and dark done on the outlines of the blocks and the ground spikes. May not be eased in the best because if you look inside the blocks, they are quite dark. They don't have any light glow to sort of bring in this difference. It's just sort of there without much easing. Whereas this part is super bright. It contrasts to the previous, which is good because it does give you that feel of exploration, of a journey. That was a nice pulse right there. This is quite reminiscent of Jonathan GD's style in some aspects. The way that the glow is used the way you've got some lava mixed in with some ground spikes. Could do with some more pulses here and there, because I feel like it's a little bit static in that aspect. But to make up for that, there is a lot of movement. And here we have the rainbow style that Jonathan GD uses a lot, with faces in the saws. Don't know how I feel about that. And these blocks feel big and out of place too. There's lots of space underneath that is quite awkwardly covered with saws. I like that gameplay actually. I was a bit skeptical at first with the orbs, but it actually does flow very well. And I like how it's slowing down. Maybe there could be some sort of black overlay to sort of bring that in. But it did use a white one for the transition, so it kind of makes up for it in that way. Alright, I see this. This is a very minimalistic pulsing style right here. Very effective at bringing in this new part of the level. Alright, this is chill. You've got kind of a blurry effect going on right here, with a pinwheel that kind of looks a little bit too similar in colour to its background. Now, this level so far is not the most textured. There isn't much depth, and the designs are very basic alongside the ground spikes. Every part does feel very whole because all the saws, blocks, and ground spikes are all designed to be part of the same thing. They're not individual. And it works well, even if it's not the most attractive to look at, or the most original thing you've ever seen. The originality instead comes from the feels you get from the parts. Ah, nice use of red right there. Cool. Wait, what? You can't touch the ground? Bruh. The level's been building tension this whole time, so it does seem fitting that the boss fight is there. Although I'm not sure if it fits in with the level. The parts in this level have good feelings, and I'm getting a lot of emotion out of it. But I still would prefer quality over quantity, because there are a lot of empty spaces, as I said. This part actually looks very nice. Good mix of light and dark. Good glow. Good depth too. Structuring is still a little bit questionable sometimes. I wish there was some larger blocks. It has its fair share of mediocre parts and very good looking parts. It's all combined together to make a very cohesive level. But overall, I think this is about a C tier, because it is weak in these aspects that I mentioned, but I did get a very good feel when I played it. It has a lot of energy. Monster by Guitar GW, using Temanite Monster. Ooh, good vibes straight away. Using the song very well, with its dark, sinister feel on the build-up right here. It did have quite a few layers to that build-up, although it was predominantly a black screen. And those pulses were actually pretty nice. Damn. This is carrying a lot of energy right now. Some decent pulses, decent colours, lots of dark space and dark glow. There's a lot of empty transition space that's just excused by pulses, and it doesn't really work that well, but the energy is kept through them. A lot of the level is just a black screen. Would have liked to see some more creative pulses in designs and decoration instead of just on a blank screen. I like how dark it is to begin with, and that very slow fade on the black screen right there. I really like that. It's a mix between very flashy blank styles and some experimental designs, which are predominantly empty, relying on the pulses and the ground spikes to give it some atmosphere, you know. I would have liked it to be a lot more consistent in its design and gameplay, because it does just feel like half effect, half black screen, but then also some random design. I know that doesn't add up to a full whole, but the level doesn't actually feel whole. It just feels like a very random mix of flashing effects and designs. It's another alright level. It could do with a lot more substance, although it does have the energy. It definitely lacks in its consistency and its designs, but I am going to put it in C because there were some creative build-up techniques and pulses to go along with it. I'm sorry, but I can't put Astral Divinity on this tier list, so I'm just going to skip over this one and do the top of the next page's level. We've got Blue by ETGX using Calicycle by Infinity. Alright, there's a lot of designs, but there's also a lot of black space that doesn't really bring it together very well. There's so many bright details, but there's very little low opacity details, so the black just stands out way too much. It does have a little bit of atmosphere, could do with some sort of overlay though. It's been very ambient so far, but I'm concerned that this is 40% of the level already. We've got a lack of blending here, but it kind of works as a transition. Definitely has potential. I feel like the blocks could have differencing from one another, with some low opacity black glow maybe to introduce a little bit of depth between the different layers of the blocks. And these movements could do with some easing. Each part of the level feels very different to one another. The saws are completely different color to the blocks and different color to the background. Well, not a different color necessarily, just a different brightness. It has potential. It's tried to keep it alive with some brightness changes here and there, on some of the chimes of the music, but I feel like there could be a lot more structure to the level instead of it just being a bunch of random pillars going up and down. It feels very clustered in that respect. Also, the LOL death effect is really questionable. It's attempted an effect right here with the hexagons pulsing. That does add to the brightness madness, but it's still something, and this is also tried experimenting with some opacity, which I respect. Doesn't look the greatest because it doesn't tie in with the blocks very well, but it's an okay level. It's tried a lot of different things. It succeeded in some areas and failed in others. Could do with a lot more polishing in the colors to make certain areas stand out instead of the whole screen at once. I feel like there could be certain little details such as arrows. The most important details should stand out from the rest, which could be lowered in opacity to suit the eyes a lot better instead of it just being bright, 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 bright with a lot of black space in the background that isn't really eased in. I'm feeling a strong D on this one. It's going right in between D and E because I really don't know how to feel about it. It's experimental. It's experimented with opacities and effects, but as a level, as a whole, it would be unfair to put it in D and unfair to put it in E because it's not the best looking, but it does have some redeemable aspects. Next up, we've got Trier by DK977 using Trier by Extrula. Trier, I don't know. Yo, the choice of block in this isn't actually that bad. I like that it's got some colour in it, but the lighter areas on the block actually go in with the outlines. It's a change in style, but I kind of prefer this style. I wish that some of the black areas were a little bit less opaque, just to make it a little bit more clean, and it doesn't transition on the beats, which kind of annoys me. It just transitions at a random part in the song, and this just seems very unfinished because there's no block design right there. This level just feels very unstructured, and I have no idea what's going on. There's no set color scheme, there's no set theme, and I'm pretty sure this is literally impossible. Okay, I figured out how to do it. This is a swing copter. I was meant to be a jewel the whole time and I wasn't. Welcome to Death Moon by Caustic, by the way. I'm gonna have to give this an F because it's all over the place. There's literally no structure in it whatsoever. It's just random game modes, random structures, and I keep on falling out the world with buggy transitions. It's getting an F, I'm afraid. It's just a very weird level. All over the place, no set theme or style or anything, just seems like a bunch of randomly collaged parts. We've got Unstable Auto version by Rapid Flash right here. First video, go check my YouTube please and sub or you will fail at 99% in every level. Well, this is an auto level, so I'm not going to fail at 99%. This is a great contrast in the white and black. Could be emphasized a little bit better with some more polished colors. A greater range of light and dark with different opacities. I like that it's sticking with the same style, but the color scheme's kind of getting a little bit repetitive already. If the background was darker, there could be a couple of details in the middle of the structures, like arrows right here. There we go. This part is a little bit better than the rest because it has some overlay, it's building tension, it's got a moving background, it's got those saws in the background. Some attempt at an original block design with those weirdly shaped outlines. I don't know what to call those blocks, they're like wooden pillars. And you've also got a custom border at the bottom that fills in the empty space. It's getting a little bit repetitive by now. Alright, the structuring's varied. You've got different types of structures with different spikes on them. Repetitive at this part because it's using the same design for two parts in a row. The drop is pretty much the same all the way through. There's no change in color in the blocks, it's just all white with low opacity grey and stuff. Very cohesive. It's still repetitive though, and I appreciate the length. Built tension decently. Had some alright colours here and there. Had some attempt at overlays. There was very little detail here and there though. It was quite empty for most of the time, which is why it's going to get a D. There it is, Unstable Auto version by Rapid Flash, going in the D tier. Alright, we've got Retro Escape by Astro 1110X using NK Headrush. Certainly unique colour distribution, how you've got the black outlines with such a bright base and background to go along with it. Ooh, interesting gameplay with that black orb right there. Ooh! Gonna transition into the error section. Going back to this pink style, making links in the level. A little bit empty going into this part. There's barely any decoration. And we've got a black screen build up. How much percent is this going to last? About 10. Nice. Honestly, I like that you've got a mix of block color, horizontal lines and vertical lines. Makes for some nice variation and a very fitting aesthetic for the retro theme. Could do with some pulsing and color changes here and there. Maybe there could have been some inversion effects here and there that could have swapped black to green and green to black for a second, just to make it a little bit more interesting, or some sort of pulsing, because the way it is gets very static and boring very quickly. Wasn't really a fan of the pink style, but I could appreciate the green style. I like the concept, how it's a normal level mixed in with a retro style. I don't know, it just felt a little bit off. There was a lack of detail here and there, especially in the pink parts. There was a nice concept with the lines and the block color mixing together in the wave. Kind of got a little repetitive because it was using literally 2 design styles all the way through. There it is. It's in DE. I don't think it is as low as these levels, and it also doesn't fit in with these levels. So I've got a random DE category, which kind of defeats the purpose of having all of these tiers up here. But you go into these 2 lists. The Magic tab is so different from going into the Featured tab because the levels in there are such different quality. I want to keep some consistency in that list between episodes, so it's not just, oh, this level in Magic got B, but if it was featured, it would get a D, you know? We've got Pew by Taku Waifu. Noise Symphony Soda Lollipop. Let's just get straight into this. Alright, I'm seeing the layering going on here. Block design is nice and compact. Mixes in with the layers in the background. Lacking ground spikes a little bit, but that's okay, that's okay. Cool. Nice pulses on the structures too, mixing it up a little bit. The gameplay is a little bit odd, appreciating the structure variation in shape and decoration, and base as well. The base color's been changing all the way through. Big fan. You've got a mix of design and some art in the background right there, brought together with the fantastic color distribution. Cool, cool. I don't like the fact that there's no ground spikes here, but I'm going to let it slide because the aesthetic of this has been pretty nice so far. I'm really liking how some of these colors are arranged, and this is quite original too. Checkerboard background pops up right as I say that, but I'm going to pretend I didn't see that. Very original in some areas, very unoriginal in some areas. Quite inconsistent too. I would have liked to see some more coverage in the top and bottom of the screen, but the way the colours were used is very effective. Gameplay is a little bit buggy so far. I've had a few problems with the gameplay going into normal mode. The fact that you can skip that dash orb kind of irks me, but that's not a problem. The problem is these orbs right here sometimes drive you straight into that spike, and that's kind of annoying. The gameplay does actually give me a little bit of trouble. If this level's gameplay was a bit more forgiving, a bit less buggy, I would give this an A, but I'm going to give it a B. I was already conflicted upon the idea of A and B because of the lack of ground spikes and how the top and bottom seem to be empty a lot, but now I finally made my decision on B due to the lacking gameplay. It's just that you can hit orbs perfectly as intended, but also still hit obstacles at the same time, which kind of draws me away from the level a little bit. We have GMD Jostin by Peruguayo. This is the last level I'm going to be playing, so let's make it a banger. Alright, it's been quite clean so far. Maybe with a couple of opacity reductions, it could be a lot smoother. But the colours are quite appealing. The designs are simple. They're not the greatest, but they do look decent. I'm noticing a lot of copy and paste though, using its simple look to its advantage, so it can get away with that. But it's got some original structuring ideas. The edges of these blocks are formatted with those little wooden lines again. How is that a possible timing? Are you serious? There's no way you can possibly get through there. Okay, I think that checkpoint is as close to the spike as it possibly can be. And I'm still dying, bruh. Oh my god. No way. No way. Oh, the switch in colour there was a little bit unprecedented. I was expecting a bit more consistency in the brightness. We've already seen a couple of bright areas from this level. That dark part kind of threw me off in both the gameplay, which isn't his fault, and its colour. The spider part kind of stuck out in the middle of nowhere, and this is kind of very weirdly structured. The gameplay isn't awful, but the structuring is a little bit bland at times and very blatantly copy-pasted. Alright, I wasn't expecting it to end there, but it did. It was alright, to be honest. I want to put this in D tier. Ladies and gentlemen, I have had a revelation. Work It by Saturnite is being promoted to the C tier. And now, GMD Jostin is being put in the D tier in its place. It's being squished because I don't want a big gaping hole in it. That looks fine, right? Felt like this one was way too harshly put in D considering the other standards of the levels that are in the ranks around it. But now I think I've got a pretty solid tier list of that magic page. I think we've done pretty decent, so let me know in the comments what you think of these placements, what you would change, what you disagree on. I'm open to discussion. Because I'm not the best at ranking things, I often feel quite guilty and that causes me to reshuffle placements. But thank you for watching this tier list episode on the Magic tab. When the featured page gets rejigged, I'm going to go back through it and we're going to rate this page again. But for now, have a good day.